Welcome to Q&A, Social Security Disability Today. This program is brought to you by the Reeves Law Firm, representing you and your Social Security and disability needs. If you have a problem or questions regarding Social Security and disability, call attorney Anthony Reeves. Here's your host, attorney Anthony Reeves.
Let me be the first to tell you. I'm going to break it down for you like this. What is an RFC? Because I know people have heard that acronym used before. An RFC stands for Residual Functional Capacity. I'm going to see if I can break it down kind of in layman's terms based on my experience and my understanding of the regulations. Residual. Residual, if you think about it, is look at your body as a whole. Okay? If something happens to your body, what's left is considered the residual. Let's use a car as an example. When you buy a car off the lot, it's in pristine condition. Okay? That's just like you. When you wake up, when you're born and you raise up to this world, you're in pristine condition. Take that same car analogy and say something happens to the car. Let's say the car is in a bad accident. Okay? And then so you ask yourself, okay, now that the car has been in an accident, what is the residual damage from that accident? Meaning, what is the residual impact of that accident? Let's say that the car has a bent-in fender. Let's say that the back fender is bent. We notice that there's some leaking of radiator fluid, and we notice that the muffler is now dragging the ground. Okay. So the next part is, after we know the residual, is we want to know, well, how is it able to function? Can it start? Okay. Can you drive at any particular distance? So you've got those things. And then you go to C, which is the capacity. What is the capacity to use this car? Well, we know the car has the function to start up. It still has the same function to do the things that we did before. The lights come on, the engine comes on, you can drive it. But then you now have to ask yourself is, what is the capacity of this car? Does this car have the capacity to do the things that it did before? Guess what? If the radiator is leaking, it's going to overheat. So you're probably not going to be able to drive it as far as you used to. Okay? If a fender is bent, if it's bent in such a way where you can't turn it, you could probably drive right, you could probably back up, you could probably go straight. But you might not be able to turn left depending on how it's bent, and vice versa. RFC is the same thing for you. Residual. If you get sick or you get hurt, you're applying based on disability, you're going to say, what is the residuals from your condition? Meaning, just look at it from a plain standpoint. If you injured your back, if you say to yourself, you're no longer the whole person, you fell off of a scaffold, then what's the residual impact of falling off the scaffold? I now have a bad back. Residual. Move it to the side. How are you able to function with that back? Okay, with that bad back. Can you lift, push, pull? Yeah, you can do things, but now we need to know what types of things can you lift, push, or pull. So you can still lift, you can still push, you can still pull, you can still sit, you can still stand, you can still walk. Okay? Now, then the question becomes, those things are impacted in terms of your functionality. So you say, I can do those things, but I'm not functioning at the same level as I was before. Meaning, before I got injured, I could lift 100 pounds. Now I can only lift 20. Before I was injured, I could walk 2 miles. Now I can't walk as far. So then you go to the C. With your residual impact of the problems that you have and your function and how those residuals affect your ability to function, what are you capable of doing? What is your capacity? So when courts are sitting there looking at you, they're saying, what does the RFC tell me for this? What is the proper RFC based on the medical evidence in the file? Meaning, what limitations do you have as the residual effect of your medical injury or your medical illness or your medical impairment? And based on those limitations, what can you or can't you do? And will those limitations give you the ability to find a job in the national economy? Now, let me rephrase that. because I'm saying that incorrectly. So let me correct myself when I say this. It's not about whether you can find a job. The reality is, does your limitations allow for you to be able to do a significant number of jobs in the national economy? So let's take the example that I provided to you. If you are a younger individual and it is determined that because you used to be able to do all kind of work, but now you're limited to only doing light work. You can do a sit-down job. You can do a job that allows you to sit for a particular period of time. You can stand on your feet. You can't lift anything over 25 pounds max, but you can do light work. You don't have any other problems dealing with the public or dealing with people or coworkers, and you don't get stressed or anything like that. But back when you were, before your injury, you could pick up a tree, but now only 20 pounds. So what do? Well, the problem is that under that scenario, Social Security is probably going to determine there's work you can do. So the key is showing Social Security through medical evidence that your limitations from your condition are of such a level that they prevent you from being able to perform work as is normally performed in the national economy. So when you hear the magical phrase of RFC, the RFC, or your residual functional capacity, is the magic limitations that you have, that the court or Social Security has determined based on your medical evidence. This is why when I was talking about earlier, I think about a couple of videos back when I was saying just saying you're disabled is not enough. That's what I mean. You need to make sure that you have enough evidence, okay? You have enough evidence and specific evidence to demonstrate what your RFC and your limitations are. And again, as I always say, if you're not sure how to probably do that, you probably need to get a representative.